Yeah.
Um, well, everybody, welcome to the Golden Hour with Anna Gold. That's me. And Art Medina is my guest today. Hey, Art.
Hey, Anna. Nice to have you.
Hey.
Nice to be here. I'm sorry. Nice to me to say that. Nice to have you. I didn't mean to say
No,
that.
no, no problem at all. Don't worry about it. I know what you mean by that.
Thank you.
Um, everyone, Art is a director, an actor, a writer, and an animator. So he does pen and ink drawings. Do you do any other kind of drawings besides pen and ink?
That's usually just my medium, pen and ink, because I've been from a very young age, believe it or not, I was a fountain pen collector. I don't know
Really?
if you've ever used a fountain pen in your life.
I have seen them. I had a previous boyfriend who used them and with the ink wells and whatnot. They're
All of that.
interesting. And
Yeah, they're
I didn't,
mechanical instruments. Yeah, they're the kind of they had a particular engineering function that I always found fascinating. It's a lost art, unfortunately.
yeah, I'm sure that it is because it took me until 2012 to see one in person. So that would mean like most people probably don't use them. But you recently, did you not go to a pen conference where like you were telling me one day?
Yeah, you called me to set up the interview that we're doing right now, and I was in the middle of the 2024 Chicago Pen Show, which ironically is not in Chicago, it's in Hoffman Estates. Uh, and yeah, everybody who is a, fountain pen collector or enthusiast or merchant of fountain pens, because they're like jewelry. They actually are pretty expensive, especially the
Oh,
vintage kind. So the fans of fountain pens sort of like just gather around, but a lot of them are just collectors. I've never really met any other artist. There was one particular artist there who drew incredible artwork with fountain pens, and I told him that I had made this one particular movie that was based on film noir, classic Hollywood, and that I had
yeah.
done it all by hand. I drew it all by hand with fountain pen and fountain pen ink.
That
Uh,
I saw that movie and I am quite impressed. Like it
yeah.
was very good, very well animated, very well voiced. Can you tell us about that, please?
Thank you. So it's called A Cold Farewell, and it's set in 1955 Chicago. I pretty much I was a fan early on of movies from classic Hollywood, and I decided to write back in 2012 a script for a live detective movie that I was going to um, film live, with actors. And there was a bunch of circumstances that led up to that being made. That script was written because I had met a writer by the name of Greg Norgard through mutual friends,
Is
and
he a
he,
writer? Did you say in your
yeah,
biography that he's a writer for, or was a writer for Pulp Fiction?
right. He actually self-published a book of his called I think one of them was called Cowboy Detective, and the other one was called The Savage. Um, Savage Revenge, I think it was called, and I apologize for getting a lot of those titles wrong, but I had met him through a mutual friend, and I found out that he was a huge fan of the same things that I was a fan of, which was classic Hollywood,
Oh, cool.
especially an actor by the name of Glenn Ford. A lot of people don't know who any of these actors are because they were around like in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And, a whole generation really doesn't know a lot of those actors unless you're a fan of those genres.
Hmm.
So I met Greg Norgard, and at that point, I had just done this a short film that I had asked him to be a part of called Artology. And when I found that he was a fan of the same things that I was a fan of,
Hmm.
uh, he had some photographs taken by another mutual friend of ours by the name of Michael Cabrera.
Oh,
And
nice.
he took photographs of him, and Michael Cabrera's style of photography was of classic Hollywood headshots. So we're
Oh,
talking about, whenever you saw like pictures of Betty
Ingrid
Davis
Bergman
or
or
Ingrid Bergman, or yes, exactly. That those are the styles that Mike Cabrera would shoot like, and he
that's neat.
shot Norgard looking like a detective.
Oh,
Greg Norgard, he had, like the fedora and
hmm.
the overcoat, and he looked amazing, which inspired me to say, you know what, we had just done this short film, so what is our next short film? He
Hmm.
looks great as a detective, so why don't I write a detective short film for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then based off of that, we had another mutual friend who is from Russia. He's
Oh.
Ukrainian. And I wanted to include him in the script. And so I said, how can I include him? And then I suddenly said, well, if I set it in the 1950s, who would be a proper enemy or a force to reckon with, or someone that he has to face off with? And
Mm-hmm.
suddenly I thought, well, if our friend Iggy is going to be in the movie and he's Russian, why don't I make the bad guys or the antagonist uh, Russian and
Oh.
set it during the Cold War? So a lot of circumstances sort of inspired the script, which I wrote it and I was going to shoot it live. But unfortunately, as you know, writing a script is easy sometimes. I mean, you put a lot of struggle into it because it's just paper and pen and your
Mm-hmm.
mind. But unfortunately, then you have to raise the money to make a movie. And unfortunately, I'm not good at raising money. Um, this was back in 2012. So
Oh.
all of these people that I wanted to help me make this movie,
Mm-hmm.
I sort of, I said, well, I wrote the script and I still like it, but I don't know if we're ever going to really shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
Then the pandemic hit. And so now think about 2018. So 2018 comes along. Actually, I'm sorry, no, this was 2019.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic happened, and suddenly we were all stuck at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know what we were going to do. All of that stuff was just like swimming in our heads as to, what's going to, keep our interests, sort of keep you busy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, prior to the pandemic hitting, I had gone to a vacation with several friends to Cancun,
Oh, nice.
and our friend Greg Norgard, Roy Torres, and Michael Cabrera, they stayed home here in Chicago, and they entered the 2000, well, it was 2019 48-hour film project,
Oh,
and
cool.
that's where you have 48 hours to film a 7-minute movie,
Mm-hmm.
write it, direct it, cast it, all of that stuff within 48 hours. And it's a competition that everybody follows through yearly on a yearly annual basis. So they were making this movie without me.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually join them in making movies. We have done several collaborations in the 48-hour film project. So it was like, I was going to miss out. But I
Mm-hmm.
was certain that they were going to write something beautiful.
And
So
what
when
was
I
the
came,
name of the movie that they
it was
were?
they made a movie called Rideshare, and
Oh.
the premise is well, it was about Michael Cabrera wrote the script and Roy Torres directed it and Greg Norgard starred in it, and he
Mm-hmm.
plays a guy who is just he's reached a certain age where he's an Uber driver and he's
Mm-hmm.
driving around, whether they be obnoxious people or whomever, and the last person that he gives a ride to pick up
Mm-hmm.
just wants to look at the water at the lake here
Mm-hmm.
in Lake Michigan in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And so he sort of confesses this long soliloquy and he says, I don't know where I am in life. I I don't I feel lost. He gives this kind of like soliloquy confessing how he is uncertain about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the passenger, a young lady, basically tells him that, if you consider the ocean, if you consider the water or the lake that we're looking at out our window,
Mm-hmm.
uh, people will swim in that water and they'll continue swimming until they reach something,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be land or a boat or someone or whether it be the horizon. But the point is, you get in the water and you swim either to something or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that was her lesson to him. And he suddenly realizes, yeah, there's something up with that. And at the
Oh.
start of the movie, he gets a call from a friend saying, hey man, it's your birthday. Why don't we go do something? And he feels so depressed. He goes, nah, I just have to do some work. I've got to do Uber driving, which I really don't want to do. And
Mm-hmm.
at the conclusion, he calls that friend and he says, you know what? I will have that drink with you, which sort of shows that he's had like a good episode in life, even though he was down, he's really back up.
Oh, that's
So,
nice.
so when I saw it, when he showed it to me, I came back from my vacation and I felt so jealous. I was like, you guys made a really wonderful thing. I mean, and it was the kind of thing where I asked him, can I see that again? Because I was not included in this. This thing that they had created was so wonderful and it was so well executed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and I was on vacation
Oh, yeah.
on a beach, and I
Well,
felt so,
that's
yeah,
good too.
yeah, I know that's good too. But I mean, after a while, you realize that you want to do something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
now we were going to be stuck for who knows how long because of the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I suddenly thought, well, I I still have the script, and I have this computer program. And believe it or not, up until then, I had an editing program,
Hmm.
and then I had an animation program that I bought at a Target. It was on sale.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was just what they would do. It would allow you to take your drawings, scan them on a regular scanner or a printer, and
Hmm.
then you can actually like cut them off, sort of like if you were taking pen and paper, scissors to paper and cutting off the outline of it,
Hmm.
and sort of like putting it together
And
layer by layer.
were you all doing that digitally?
Yeah, it was done using traditional 2D animation. Like just
Oh.
think of the old commercials, or I'm sorry, think of the old cartoons, the
Hmm.
Tom and Jerry cartoons, the original Walt Disney cartoons. That's all, two-dimensional. And they
Hmm.
would draw each drawing frame by frame and
Oh.
essentially show them moving around. Well, this was
What is,
done.
sorry, if I
Uh-huh.
may ask, just because this question is on my head, what is the difference between 2D and 3D?
Yeah, so the difference is, okay, so if you watch a show like The Simpsons or a show like Family Guy, whatever you may see on television right now,
Hmm.
if they have this sort of like a look to it that makes it look like a cartoon, makes
Hmm.
it look like it's actually, but then you compare it to like something that you saw recently from a Pixar movie like Toy Story or The Incredibles, and you
Hmm.
see, shading, and you actually see some rendering that shows photorealistic. That's 3D compared to a cartoon looking TV show like Family
Oh.
Guy. Yeah. So you can do that kind of elaborate animation that that Japanimation and the Japanese are famous for,
Hmm.
and there are some incredible Russian animators out there. But my animation was sort of like a little lackluster because I was following the traditional style of what I remember animation being. And back when I was a kid, there were episodes of shows like Speed Racer.
Oh
I
yeah.
know that, yeah, Speed Racer, and then shows like The Mighty Thor and The Incredible Hulk,
Hmm.
or the animated version of Star Trek. That if you watch those cartoons,
Hmm.
some of them are standing still, and the only things that are moving are their mouths or their eyes.
Uh-huh.
And that was because they couldn't afford to do elaborate animation, but they made it simple enough so that the story will just keep flowing and it would deter you from saying, "Oh, well, the animation's a little off, but the story's so good."
Yeah, that's
So,
what hooks you, definitely.
so believe it or not, even the script that I wrote, and I entitled it A Cold Farewell because it was going to be set during the Cold War of the 50s and 60s that we almost had a nuclear war over, believe it or not. Civilization almost ended because of the Cold War.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
so
actually, I was
yeah,
not that aware of that.
yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
know things were bad, but
yeah, like November 1963, literally
oh,
we were at the brink of a nuclear war.
oh yeah, that's right,
Yeah,
with Kennedy and whatnot.
yeah,
Hmm.
Kennedy, the missiles of October, that's what happened was in October of 1962, actually, not 1963. All right, so anyways, so I suddenly thought, well, I think I can make this animated movie, and only because I still had an interest in drawing, even though I never really got any better. I was
Hmm.
really good in high school, but I never really kept up with it. But
Hmm.
this was an opportunity to sort of like take my creativity because I'm always still messing around with the pens, and I would draw
Yeah.
sketches here and there, do calligraphy work, that sort of stuff. And so I said, look, let me do something with what I have, the resources that I have, because, and I thought this to myself, we have a mutual friend. His name is Jerry Vassilatos,
Hmm.
and
Hey, Jerry.
yeah, hey Jerry. So he made a movie about back in 1994. It's called Solstice. It's a wonderful movie. I hope you've seen it.
Oh yes,
And yeah,
definitely.
and he was a friend. He says, "Hey, I made a movie. Come and see it with us." And I was
Hmm.
like, "He made a movie?" And he basically said, like, "Well, no one was going to give me the money to make a movie, so I just decided to make a movie because I just needed to make a movie. I'm a director. I want to write screenplays. I want to gather actors and make it." And suddenly I thought, well, his attitude was so good that 20 years later, when I reconnected with him, I was like, well, let me make a movie.
Mm,
I have some resources. And so that started this thing. But then
that's
this was
neat.
completely different with animation because I suddenly realized that I can draw whatever I wanted. No budget was really off limit. And in fact, I decided to, in the middle of the story that I was telling, write
Hmm.
in something that I knew that I wasn't going to be able to shoot live, which was a whole World War II sequence.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
you're
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Actually,
and
the budget is unlimited with animation. I mean, it's
yeah,
unless you just have to buy the pens, right? And
right.
but that's impressive. It's definitely a better cost than shooting it on film or on digital for sure.
And for literally 2 years, I would have friends come over to my house and they would record, dialogue in a room that I had here with a microphone. In fact, the same microphone that I'm talking to you in right now.
Oh, that's so
S-
neat.
So
And
they would record their dialogue and then I would like set it to the animation. And luckily, the program that I had would allow me to draw mouths and
mhm.
then sync up with the vowels that the actors would use on their dialogue.
I
So
always
yeah,
wondered how that was done, how one would take a drawing and make the audio match it.
yeah.
Definitely.
So
That's a
so imagine that somebody drew your face and then had to draw your mouth
mhm,
doing all of these expressions. So you would have like maybe 25 drawings of your mouth,
mhm,
all of them saying the vowels or saying, a particular smile or a sadness to it, whatever. And then
mhm.
they would actually be able to cut that off and then sort of superimpose it over the drawing of your mouth of your
Oh,
face. And
cool.
that's what I did. I would draw like 25 mounts and
Oh,
then sort of
wow.
like, yeah, it got easier because the computer program did all of that stuff for you. But back
Mhm,
in the day when animators, they would have to draw all of these things. Of course, I had to draw all these things, but then they would have to literally like cut everything by hand, by paper, like resize it, have
wow.
to make photocopies, redraw it. I mean, we're talking about grueling work, and
Yeah.
my process was much easier, but it still took 2 years. It still took two
Oh,
years to do all of that
I c-
work.
I can imagine, and the film is worth it to watch. Can you tell us where to watch the film, how to find it?
Yes, so it's under a cold farewell dot GoDaddySite.com. I know it's a long thing, but it's just all one word if you want to. It's a cold farewell, which is the name of the movie, a
Mhm.
cold farewell dot GoDaddySites, plural daddy sites. So that's GoDaddySites.com. And
Oh,
yeah, it shows who the casts are. It shows the process of the movie. It was a labor of love, to be honest with you, because like Jerry had told me, I decided to make a movie of my own, and this was my declaration that, okay, I have it in me. Let me make this movie. But I had nothing but doubt the entire time that I was making it. I had
how did
nothing
you
but
accomplish what you did accomplish, which, by the way, is a great film? How did you accomplish that while doubting yourself? How did you overcome the doubt?
Yeah, so what I decided to do was that I decided to when I decided to film and draw everything from beginning to end as if it was actually shot like a movie.
Oh,
So like the first day of filming would be, Rick Stancer's office. Who are
mm-hmm.
the actors that are going to be there? What is the dialogue that I'm going to have? And then I would actually draw the floor plan of the office and then set where the camera is going to be, draw the background to that, and then place the actors there. So
Oh,
I did it like that through storyboards, and then as I was drawing everything, I would draw those scenes.
mm-hmm.
And literally, when you watch the movie, you can see from the very first scene to the very last scene, literally the progress of of me. Like that cityscape was the first cityscape that I drew. The next one was the second cityscape that I drew, and by the end of the movie, the last one was my probably the 375th cityscape that I drew. And you can see
Wow.
that the artwork sort of gets better.
Oh, that's nice, actually. I'll look for that when I watch it. And now, where can we find the rest of your stuff? You're also an actor, a director of other films. Do you have a YouTube channel that you'd like to pitch or share?
I just have a regular YouTube channel, but I will place all of my YouTube films into a cold farewell at GoDaddy. I'm sorry, cold farewell dot GoDaddySites.com on the website soon, so that people can actually look at it and see all the stuff. The thing is that I'm having a difficult time finding where all the hard drives are that have the movies in them, and
Oh,
you can still go into YouTube and you can find each individual stuff that I've directed from here and there. But that's just something that I will one of these days include in the website, essentially.
okay, cool. And your YouTube channel is Arturo Medina, right?
Yeah, it's Art Medina, art.medina.92.
92. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
That's helpful. And Art, what is next for you in terms of acting, writing, directing, funding? Do you have any thoughts?
Well, yeah, right now I'm actually thinking of just doing a YouTube channel where I would call it Art Medina Cinema,
Oh,
and
cool.
it would be my version of a 1950s film or my
Oh,
version of a 1970s film. And I would have these really weird premises like and this is kind of weird, but I sort of pitched a story like this to one of my friends because we were having dinner one night, and I happened to say, "What what kind of revenge would God take on a person? Like if God actually wanted to take revenge on a person, what would he do?" And of course, that's a ridiculous question to ask because God can do anything. But that's the question. What if?
Mhm.
And so like what if there's evidence of God wanting to purposely take a revenge out on someone? What yeah, I want to do a movie. I want to do a movie like that, but I know that I can't
Well,
afford to make a movie like that. But I think
mhm,
I can actually like tell the movie
mhm,
uh like live like this
mhm.
and say, it opens up with a, screenshot of a vast sky, and
Mhm.
then actually have the drawings right there behind
Oh,
me as I'm telling the story.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like that.
Like a
Maybe,
live
yeah,
script
like
reading
right,
movie.
like somebody describing the story of Macbeth and
Oh,
the
okay.
images in the background, maybe not
Oh,
moving, sort of like just flashing in like large landscapes. And if
mhm.
it's all drawn, then the sky's the limit,
Yeah. Oh,
because you could just draw whatever you want.
that is very true. And you're good at that, Art. Well, now it's time for
Yes.
the best part of the show. I'm just kidding. My guest is the best part of the show. But
Of course, you're very lovely.
thank you. What I like to do at the end of each episode is play trivia about what my guest likes. And you are like the director, Robert Altman. Is that right?
I do, yes. He's a genius that nobody really regards anymore as being the genius that he is.
Oh, that's too bad. You know, last night I was studying him because I was curious, who is this Robert Altman? I had heard of him, but I wasn't sure
Yeah.
like where he came from. And to me, he seems like the most normal man. And some filmmakers are berserk that because they have to think of so many ideas and they seem wacky. But this guy seems like a northern uh gentleman. Like he's a I didn't catch actually where he grew up, but I did catch that he seemed like a father, like a guy you would see on the street. There's nothing wrong about him at all. And I looked at him and I said, he's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So they come in all types, obviously, but I was just like, oh, he could be like my grandpa or something, you know?
He made a movie called McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and you should just watch it because this is actually what happened.
Hmm.
He told the production people who were going to build a town, and the movie was set in the West, like in the 1880s.
Hmm.
And he specifically told them, I don't, when you're building this town, use authentic tools that were used back in those days to build the structures or
Oh, wow.
the house. And these carpenters who had never used these ancient tools started to
Uh-huh.
use these ancient tools. And then he told these carpenters, "Hey, put on clothes from that time." And
Uh-huh.
so these carpenters started to like dress up. They would like come dressed like in jeans from the 19th century. They would
Hmm.
put hats on, and they would be using and building these sets using the old tools of the time. And
Wow.
eventually they became so happy with what they were doing that he started to shoot the film as they were building the town.
Really?
And you can see them, the people in the background as they're building the town. Those are the actual carpenters building the sets of the movie.
No
And
way.
what,
I'm gonna watch for that.
yeah,
Actually, I started watching the movie last night, that same movie you're talking
no
about.
kidding. Wow.
And then it got too late because I had to work really early this morning. So I was
Sure.
just like, I'm gonna finish it, but it seemed very raw. And
Yeah.
I thought to myself, well, because now I live in Montana, right? And
Hmm.
I was thinking to myself, I was like, is that really what the West was like back in the day? And now I want to look for pictures because it seems authentic, but I know now I know what I know
Yeah,
from.
it's because he wanted to keep it that authentic, believe it or not. In fact, the only technology that was in the entire time throughout the production was the lights and the
Mhm.
cameras.
Oh,
Everything else was like all technology, even Coca-Cola cans were taken off the sets. If they said, if you're
cool.
going to drink Coca-Cola, you got to drink a Coca-Cola that is from the 1800s. They still have bottles back then.
Oh yeah, the
like that
glass
kind of stuff.
bottles,
Yeah, exactly.
like the Mexican sodas. That oh
Exactly
man,
like that. Yes, exactly. I
those
mean,
are
that's
so
how,
good.
but it was an environment that people who were involved in the making of the movie still talk about. Like
Oh,
one actor, he says that he was driven to just this site, and then he says, okay, they got him out of the car and they said, just walk that way until you find the set. And he walked, and he says that he walked through this huge, like wonderful, field, and then he found this like magic town where everybody was like dressed like, and then and he was part of the community. And he
cool.
says this was an environment that at the end, they didn't want to leave.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's really neat actually.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to either if it was a magical place, you know. So
Yeah.
let's play. Are you ready, Art?
Sure, I am.
Let's play Robert Altman trivia. I'm going to
Yay.
give you 5 questions and let's see what you got. Okay. True or false? Robert Altman was a World War II bomber pilot.
False.
Actually, it's true.
Wow, really? Well,
Yeah, it,
yeah.
that that's
Yeah.
pretty cool to me that he turned into a filmmaker, you know?
True enough, but a lot of actors who were Hollywood stars went to serve on World War II, believe it or not.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Clark Gable and Jimmy Stewart, they went and they served. They were pilots, bomber pilots.
Oh, that's right. I heard that that Jimmy Stewart fought, and
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. He could have used his celebrity for something else, but that was neat that he used it to fight for our country.
Without a doubt, yes, exactly.
Let's see here. Question number 2. Robert Altman was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. True
Hmm.
or false?
I'm gonna count MASH, The Long Goodbye, The Player, and Shortcuts. I say true. Yeah, 4.
Actually, it's 5. I tricked you.
No, really? So there was another movie. Okay, so are the ones that I mentioned, were they the nominations? Okay, The Long Goodbye, MASH,
hmm
uh, The Player, Shortcuts, and
Actually, this does not say here. The only thing that it lists
uh-huh.
is it says that he was nominated for 5 films, but all it says is that MASH, Gosford Park, and Nashville were nominated for Best Picture, but
Yeah.
it doesn't list the other two, which is weird. So we're gonna have to look that up. I
I
can Google.
completely I completely forgot that he directed Gosford Park, which Anton Downton Abbey eventually based all of their episodes on.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the same writer of that show too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So the same writer who wrote Gosford Park wrote Downton Abbey.
Exactly. And Robert Altman directed Gosford Park, which I completely forgot. And I think Stephen Fierce or someone else directed the television shows. Yeah.
That's neat that he influenced that show. That's pretty impressive.
Big time, right? American director doing a British drama. Wow, huh?
Yeah, he seems like he was pretty creative, and I'm just gonna Google for which movies was Robert Altman nominated and see what comes up.
For certain
Okay,
MASH. Yeah.
it says best he was nominated for Best Director, Nashville,
Ah,
1975,
Nashville, yeah.
1992, The Player,
The Player.
1993, Shortcuts,
Shortcut, yeah.
2001, Gosford Park,
Gosford Park.
and um, he has 0 wins for Academy Awards. British Film Academy Award, he's received 2 wins. That's cool. Hey,
Yeah.
I shouldn't tell you anymore. I'm looking at his Wikipedia, but I want you to like. I'll send you a couple more trivia questions. Okay. Robert Altman allowed his actors to improvise on set. True
Yeah.
or false?
Oh, without a doubt, true.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
that's
was famous for that. In fact, the other story is that every actor, including the background actors, would be with microphones, and
oh,
the sound guy would have to have like 35, maybe 50 actual recording equipment going on at the same time to record everybody. And at one point, a dog came into the set, and
hmm
Robert Altman was looking at the dog, and the sound man said, don't you do it, thinking that he was going to tell him, oh, put a microphone on the dog.
He might have.
Yeah, he
That's
might have.
funny. Um, well, let's see here. I'm going to try to find you a couple. Oh, this is a good trivia question. True or false? Robert Altman was honored with an honorary Academy Award. Yes or no?
Gosh, I'm gonna say yes, but I have to also say that I don't remember him making a speech like on one of the programs of the Oscars. I would have remembered that. So they probably gave it to him without him being on the show.
Yes, yes, you're
Oh,
correct. It says in 2006, Altman received an honorary Academy Award for his remarkable contributions to the world of cinema.
yeah, he didn't win, but he was given an Oscar. The same way with a lot of other directors, like Alfred Hitchcock. He didn't win an Oscar, but he was given an Oscar.
Oh, well,
Yeah, an honorary.
that's neat. It's kind of like earning an honorary degree at a school because you're so smart or so good at something, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we all deserve it too because we all know something that nobody else knows.
That's, oh, I like that, Art. Thanks.
Yeah,
That's
it's
that's
true.
actually encouraging what you just said there. Um, all right, last and final question. True or false? Robert Altman's films often featured social and political commentary.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have gotten 3 out of 5 right, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to send you a prize for your cinema wonders and marvels, and I'm in the process of making new prizes. I had a girl making them on Etsy, but I think I want to work with someone else. So if you know of anyone that makes merchandise, let me know. But
Oh my, yes. In fact, I know a few. Michael Cabrera, our friend and photographer, he's
Mhm.
getting into 3D printing. He's
Oh,
getting exceptionally good too, you know?
oh, that's awesome. Maybe I could connect with them and like about the podcast prizes and stuff. I have some ideas. I definitely have some thoughts.
Without a doubt, right, exactly. If I want to go ahead and say one other thing about A Cold Farewell,
Oh, sure.
I just want to say that a lot of the people who helped me make the movie
Mhm.
were a lot of people who weren't voice actors. Uh,
Oh,
but a lot of them were like Emily Ember, who played the lead female part of the movie.
mhm.
She herself is a voice actress and a talented actress herself.
Oh,
So
nice.
and Greg Norgard, who really put his experience in because he's got a voice that carries, believe it or not. He's
Uh-huh.
got an incredible voice for that era.
Hmm.
And then Michael Cabrera, who was the voice of our villain, and he's my best friend. He also composed the entire soundtrack to the movie. Like
That's
I
cool.
he had a computer program that does music, and he was putting stuff together. And I said, "Would you like to do the music for my movie?" And he did it in under a week. Can you
Wow.
believe it? He actually put the entire soundtrack to the movie in under a week.
That's impressive. That it normally takes a lot longer.
Without a doubt, Michael Cabrera, and he actually won an award for best score because we actually put the film through several film festivals, and his was one of the best scores of one of the
All
film festivals that
right.
we had. Yeah.
High five. You guys should all be very proud of that movie in general is great. And if somebody would like to reach out to you, Art, how may they contact you if they want to fund your film, if they want to just reach out to you to collaborate together, how may they do so?
So, like I said, you can find the movie and you can watch it in a cold farewell dot go at, I'm sorry, a cold farewell dot godaddysites.com.
Mhm.
And then you can reach me at artmusjorge at gmail.com, which is ARTMUSJORGE at gmail.com.
All right, Art. And I just wanted to remind you all to buy me a coffee. I'm always up for it any day or night. Buymeacoffee.com/gold coffee will get me so much energy to do my next podcast. And thank you all very, very much for listening to Art Medina, my guest, and myself talk about film and cinema. Yours truly, Anna Gold. Peace out, everyone. I love you all. Bye.
Good night.
Good night. And I'm going to stop the recording, make sure
Excellent.